So you're thinking about Ascendant Financial, huh? It does seem like they do a ton, maybe even a little bit of everything financial. We should break down exactly what they offer and see if it's the right choice for you.
Yeah, I think the first thing that really jumps out at me is that they try to be a one-stop shop, for all things financial well-being, everything from coaching to insurance and even estate planning. I mean, it could be a pretty good option for someone who really wants that full package deal, right?
Definitely. And they keep talking about this personalized guidance. Like they're not just going to give you generic advice, but really get into your own specific needs.
That's what I think is really important because everyone's idea of, financial freedom is different. And they seem to get that.
Yeah.
They seem to get that cookie cutter solutions just don't work when you're talking about money.
Right. And the first thing they start with is financial coaching. I mean, they say it's about helping you take control when things feel out of control, which I think a lot of us have been there, right?
Oh, for sure. And they hit on budgeting, debt reduction, and investment planning.
Yeah.
But I think what's really important is that they weave those basics into a personalized strategy.
Yeah.
And, for example, they've got this client story about Sarah. She was struggling with debt and just felt kind of lost about the future.
Oh, let's hear about Sarah. I love these client stories. I always want to see how they turn out.
So through Ascendant's coaching, Sarah, she not only made a budget and tackled that debt, but she actually figured out some things about herself, like deep down beliefs about money that were holding her back.
Interesting.
So they helped her change her mindset about money. And, that's what actually got her to start saving.
So it sounds like they go beyond just the dollars and cents and get into the emotional side of money too, because that can be a big problem.
Yeah, exactly. It's more than telling people to stop buying lattes. It's about finding out why they might be overspending and working through those issues.
Yeah, that's smart. I bet that makes their coaching work a lot better over time.
Totally. Okay, so let's switch gears a bit and talk about life insurance, which we all know is so important, but it can also be so confusing. Ascendant focuses on tailoring solutions. So like understanding your family, your finances and goals instead of just selling you some random policy.
So it's like, hey, let's figure out what you actually need, not just what they can sell you. What kind of things do they look at when they are figuring that out?
They think about things like, your age, health, income, how many kids you have, and even, your long-term goals. They really want to make sure that whatever coverage you get is the right fit for you and protects what's important.
That makes sense. And to show how that works, they share a story about Mark, a dad with 2 kids who wanted to make sure his family was taken care of no matter what.
Right. And, Mark's situation shows something about life insurance that a lot of people don't think about. It's not just about the money. It's about peace of mind. Knowing your family's safe no matter what. That can really be empowering for people.
That's a really good point. It's not just about something bad happening. It's about security and responsibility. Did that click with Mark?
Oh, yeah, for sure. He felt like a weight was lifted off his shoulders, like he had done something to actually protect his family. It gave him control when often things can feel very much out of control.
Okay, so now for the topic I think a lot of people don't like talking about, but is super important, estate planning. Ascendant makes it clear that this is key, especially to make sure things go smoothly if something happens to you, and to make things easier on your loved ones.
Yeah, and for this, they talk about James, who had a successful business, but just like a lot of business owners, he never thought about what would happen next.
Yeah.
And that can be a really big mistake because it can lead to, family fights, tax problems, and even his whole business could fall apart.
Yikes. So how did they help James? I imagine a business owner's estate planning can get kind of messy.
Oh, absolutely. So they put together a plan to avoid taxes and make sure his business would go to his kids without any problems, like setting up trusts, figuring out who's in charge, and even how to deal with any disagreements that might pop up.
Wow, that's amazing. Sounds like they really did it all.
They did. And by doing that, they didn't just protect James's money, but also his legacy, and his business, which was really important to him.
So they basically took something scary and turned it into security for James and his whole family.
Exactly. And I think that's really what Ascendant is all about. They take these complicated money things and make them easier to understand and even give people a feeling of control.
That's a good way to put it. It's not just about knowing the numbers. It's about people and their hopes and dreams, all that stuff. But okay, let's get back to the nitty-gritty. How does their financial coaching actually work? What do they actually do to get people like Sarah those great results?
So one of the biggest things they do is,
Okay, so we've been talking about how Ascendant can help, but I'm curious, what does their coaching actually involve? It's easy to say personalized, but how does that work in practice?
That's where it gets really interesting. So they really get deep into like where you are financially, not just your income and bills, but also your goals, values, even your whole money mindset. It's almost like, therapy for your finances.
Oh, I like that. Financial therapy. So it's more than just giving you a budget and being like, see ya.
Oh, yeah, way more. They use all sorts of techniques, behavioral coaching, goal setting. They even have you do visualization exercises. Not something you usually think about with money.
Visualization, that's new.
Yeah, but think about it. If you could actually picture reaching your goals, it becomes real, and more motivating. It's tapping into that emotional side of money, which we said is so important.
Right, so it's not just knowing the right things to do, it's about actually feeling like you can do them.
Exactly. They also help you break those big goals down into smaller steps, make it less overwhelming, so you can actually make progress.
Oh, I see. Especially for someone who's feeling kind of lost. That would be a big help.
Definitely. And they're there for you the whole time, checking in, adjusting the plan, and celebrating all those little wins you get.
So they're like your financial cheerleader. But wait, all that personalized stuff, that's going to be expensive, right?
Well, it's true. Their services aren't free. They have a fee structure, and they're upfront about that. But here's the thing. They're convinced that what you get is way more valuable than what you pay.
Okay, interesting. So how do they back that up?
Well, look at the long term. Less debt, more savings, feeling secure about money. They've even got numbers to prove it. Their clients, on average, do so much better after working with them.
So they're not just saying, trust us, it's worth it. There's actual proof.
Exactly. They want people to think of it as an investment, not just a cost. Like, you're investing in a better future for yourself.
Okay, that makes sense. It's not just buying advice. It's buying a whole new way to think about money. Let's get back to life insurance for a sec. We were talking about how they tailor those solutions, but once someone decides to get a policy, what happens then?
They handle everything. The paperwork, finding the best deals, and even explaining all that fine print so you're not, surprised.
So basically, they're like your insurance concierge, just taking care of all that boring stuff.
Exactly. And they don't just disappear once you have the policy. They check back in, make sure it still works for you, answer any questions you have.
Wow, that's good service. It's not just about making the sale, it's about building a long-term relationship. So tell me, what kinds of life insurance do they even offer? Is it just the basic term and whole life, or do they have like special options too?
Actually, they have a bunch of choices to fit, different needs and budgets. Beyond term and whole life, they also do universal life, variable life, even special stuff for people with businesses.
So basically, the whole enchilada. But how do they know which one is right for you? Because figuring that out can be really confusing.
They go through each one with you. The pros, the cons, based on, where you are in life and your goals. Like, say, someone just wants to make sure their family has money. If something happens, they might go for term life. It's usually the cheapest.
And what about someone who wants to, build some cash value or leave money for their kids? Would they go for a whole life or universal?
Exactly. Those policies give you more options. They could be like a savings account or investment.
It sounds like they really work with you, figure out what you need instead of pushing you into something that doesn't fit. Okay, I want to hear more about the estate planning stuff, particularly for someone like James with his business. Did they bring in special help for that?
You bet. They have a whole network of estate planning lawyers and tax experts they work with, so their clients get the full picture.
So it's not just financial advisors trying to give legal advice. They're actually bringing in the real experts.
Yeah, they know estate planning is serious business with all the laws and taxes and stuff. So they bring in the people who really know.
That's definitely good to know, especially for a case like James's. But what about people who, don't own a company or have a lot of money? Do they still need estate planning?
For sure. It's not just for the rich people. It's about making sure what you want happens and making it easier on the people you care about, no matter how much money you have.
Okay, so what are some of the basics everyone should think about when it comes to estate planning? Because I feel like a lot of people think it's too complicated or just for, celebrities.
Well, at the very least, you got to have a will. That's like the document that says what happens to your stuff when you're gone.
Right, that makes sense. And what about if someone can't make decisions for themselves? Like if they get sick or something, what do they say about that?
That's where you need power of attorney and those healthcare directive things. Power of attorney lets you choose someone to handle your money if you can't. And the healthcare directive tells everyone what you want for medical care.
So it's like covering all the bases, making sure everyone's protected no matter what happens.
Right, exactly. And Ascendant can help you figure out all those documents, explain the legal stuff, and make sure you make the right choices for you.
This has been super helpful. It sounds like they really do go the extra mile. But before we wrap up this part, what about their company culture? Like, what's the vibe?
Oh, they're big on building trust. They really want to have good relationships with their clients. It's all about being open, being honest, and putting the client first,
And do they actually walk the walk or just talk the talk?
From everything I've seen, they do. All of the online reviews are glowing. People say they're professional, they respond quickly, and they actually care.
That's impressive. It's one thing to say it, but it's another to actually do it. You mentioned they have all these experts on their team. Who are these people? What kind of experience do they have?
Well, you've got certified financial planners, chartered life underwriters, lawyers for estate planning, tax advisors. All of them are, top-notch in their fields.
Wow, a real dream team for anything money related. I feel pretty good working with them. But realistically, not everyone can afford a whole team of experts. Do they have anything for people who are on a budget?
They do. They have different packages, so there's something for everyone. They even have this financial checkup, which is just a one-time meeting where they tell you where you stand and give you advice.
That's awesome. So there's a way in for anyone, no matter how much money they make. We've talked a lot about the practical stuff, but what about their overall philosophy? Like, how do they think about financial well-being?
They see it as more than just numbers. It's about lining up your money with your values, living with a purpose, and, just feeling good about your choices.
That's great. So it's not just about getting rich. It's about using your money to build a life you love. So how do they help people actually do that?
They get you to think about your big goals, the things you want in the long run, and then make a plan that supports those goals. They also help you figure out your core values and make sure your spending and investing matches those values.
So basically, be smart with your spending, be smart with your investments, and make sure your money's working for you, not the other way around. But before we get too deep into all this, we got to talk about risk. That's a big thing people forget. How do they handle that as part of their planning?
Yeah, good point. They think about risk in everything. Investments, insurance, estate planning, all of it.
Okay, let's break that down. How do they help people handle risk with their investments?
They figure out how much risk you're okay with. Then they spread your money around to different investments so you're not putting all your eggs in one basket,
Yeah.
And they keep checking to make sure you're not taking on more risk than you want.
So it's about finding that balance between growing your money and staying safe. What about insurance? Where does that come in?
They see insurance as a way to protect yourself from things you can't predict, like getting sick, getting hurt, or if your stuff gets damaged.
So it's not just about life insurance. They look at all kinds of insurance.
Exactly. They help you figure out what could go wrong and then find the right insurance to protect you.
And what about estate planning? How does that fit into the whole risk thing?
For them, estate planning is about protecting what you've built and making sure your heirs don't run into problems, like, estate taxes, legal fees, or family fights over the money.
So it's not just about giving away your money, it's about doing it the right way. Okay, so what about technology? Do they use any, online tools or anything to make things easier?
Oh, definitely. They have this whole online system, secure and everything, where you can see your plans, track your progress, talk to your advisor, even sign documents online.
So it's like a high-tech personal touch kind of thing?
Yeah, they use technology to make things faster and smoother for the client.
Mm-hmm.
But they never forget that personal connection. That's still the most important.
That's good to hear. It's that nice balance of being modern but still caring about people. So before we move on, do they specialize in anything specific or any particular types of clients they work with a lot?
They're really good with women, business owners, and people who are, going through big changes like divorce or retirement.
So they found groups that often have unique needs and they've really focused on how to help them.
Exactly. They know those groups often have specific challenges and they have the experience to help them overcome those.
That's smart. Makes them the go-to people for those situations. Okay, so before we get into the last part of our look at Ascendant, I want to ask you, our listener, a question. What's really stood out to you so far? What made you think, this could be useful for me?
Think about what we've talked about. What seemed valuable or like something you want to know more about.
And with that in mind, we'll continue our deep dive into Ascendant Financial in Part 3.
Okay, so we're back. We've learned a lot about Ascendant Financial, how personalized they are, what they know about life insurance and estate planning, all that. But now the big question, is Ascendant right for everyone?
I think that's the key question, really. I mean, they have a lot going for them, but there might be some things that aren't the best fit for some people. It really boils down to what you need and what you're looking for, you know? Okay, let's talk about that. What are some things that might make someone think twice?
One thing that pops into my head is how much they charge. They give you all this special one-on-one help, so it can be pricier than just going to different people for coaching, insurance, and estate planning.
Yeah, so that convenience does come at a cost. Gotcha. Anything else that might make someone hesitant?
Some people might, prefer to work with someone who's independent, not tied to a specific company. It gives you more choices and might be cheaper if you can handle some of the stuff yourself.
Right, so it's about finding that sweet spot. How much help do you want versus doing it yourself? And Ascendant seems like they're pretty hands-on, right?
Yeah, you can say that. They're really involved in their clients' finances, which is great for some, but maybe too much for others. It's about what you feel comfortable with.
Okay, so we've talked about the downsides, but let's look at the other side. Why would someone choose Ascendant over other options?
Well, the big thing for most people is that all-in-one approach we've been talking about. They make sure your financial coaching, insurance, and estate planning all work together perfectly.
So it's like having a team of experts all working together just for you. What else makes them stand out?
They really care about teaching their clients. They explain everything, even the complicated stuff, in a way that makes sense. They want you to understand why you're making these choices, not just follow orders.
Yeah, that's important. Feeling like you're in control, not just being told what to do.
Yeah, exactly. And, they have a good track record. They've helped a lot of people get their finances in a better place, which shows they know what they're doing.
So it's not just talk. They have proof that it works. That's always a good sign. So let's say someone's listening to this and thinking, Ascendant sounds pretty interesting, but how do I know if they're a good fit for me? What would you tell them?
I'd say go for that free consultation. It's a way to meet the team, ask all your questions and see if you like how they do things. No pressure or anything.
Yeah, like a test drive before you buy the car. Makes sense. And what happens after that first meeting? Do they try to get you to sign up right away?
Not at all. They believe in building relationships. They want to get to know you, understand your situation before they suggest anything specific.
That's good to hear. Gives you time to make a decision. Okay, so before we wrap up, I want to leave our listeners with something to think about. Ascendant always says that financial well-being is a journey, not a destination. What does that mean to you, and how can our listeners apply that to their own lives?
Well, for me, it means, financial well-being isn't something you just achieve one day and that's it. It's a constant process. It's about making good choices, being able to adapt when things change, and always learning more.
So it's not about reaching a certain number and then stopping. It's about staying active and involved with your money. So what's one little thing our listeners can do today to start that journey?
I'd say take some time to think about what's important to you. Your values and goals. What do you want your money to do for you?
Yeah.
Once you figure that out, you can start making choices that get you closer to where you want to be.
It all starts with understanding yourself, what really matters when it comes to your money, and then taking action, even if it's just one step at a time. And remember, you don't have to do it alone. There are people out there like Ascendant Financial to help you. So that's our deep dive into Ascendant Financial. We hope this has been helpful and you've got a better idea of whether they're the right choice for you. Remember, knowing more about your finances is always good. So stay curious, stay informed, and keep working towards your financial goals.